I've been wondering when the substandard product that the NFL's been presenting, hell, for a couple of years now, I've been wondering when the substandard product would finally catch up to the league. And we saw a brief glimpse, a very brief glimpse of that last Monday night when the NFL, the undisputed, undefeated king of American television, the proverbial Goliath that could never be dethroned by one of David's little pebbles, as it turns out, the NFL was actually toppled by pebbles, but they weren't coming from a slingshot. These pebbles were coming in the form of turds out of a pooch's ass because Monday Night Football last week was defeated in the ratings by a collection of prized pooches. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Not only was the NFL incapable of outdrawing Scooby-Doo, they were also defeated by college football. Ohio State, Michigan outdrew the NFL by 6 million viewers. Last Sunday, we were on our way home from church. My wife asked me if we could go play pickleball. It was a nice winter day. It was around 45, 50 degrees and overcast. It was the perfect day to be doing something outside. Now, 3 or 4 years ago, the answer to this question would have been obvious. It would be so obvious, my wife wouldn't even bother asking the question. There was no way I was missing an NFL Sunday to go play pickleball. We only get 17 NFL Sundays a year, 18 now, NFL Sundays a year. There aren't very many. We can play pickleball on Saturday. Hell, we can play pickleball any other day of the week. I make my own schedule. But when she asked me last Sunday, when she wanted to play pickleball at noon, right as NFL Red Zone was going on the air, my answer was yes. Now, to be fully transparent, part of the reason I didn't mind missing the first half of the early window of NFL games last Sunday, my Saints are a flaming ass fire. My Saints are the worst kind of flaming ass fire because we have no hope for the future in New Orleans. But KC Tyler Shuck is playing well. This kid could be a huge star. Yeah, maybe. When you look at this roster of aging veterans and practice squad players, when you consider what Tyler Shuck has to work with, he has definitely exceeded expectations. But there's no hope in New Orleans because the doofus responsible for constructing the worst roster in the league, he's got diplomatic immunity. Mickey Loomis will never be fired. To make matters worse, Gail Benson is one of the worst owners in sports. My Saints being a hopeless disaster, it definitely played a role in me choosing pickleball over the NFL. But my Saints, they've been bad before. Hell, growing up, we were wearing paper bags over our heads. That never stopped me from watching football all day on Sunday. But over the last couple of years, my interest in the NFL has seen a gradual decline. Initially, I thought maybe it was just me getting older. Maybe my priorities were changing. But I don't think it's me. It's them. And judging by these abysmal ratings for Monday Night Football, Uncle KC is not the only one rejecting the shit sandwich that the NFL's been serving. Link to the second channel's in the description below. Today on the second channel, going to be talking about the end of an era in the NBA. LeBron James is done. It's over. And I think you can see it in his eyes. You can see it in his body language. I think LeBron James knows it's over. Whether you love him or hate him, and because of some of the decisions that he's made, there are a lot of people who don't like LeBron James. But even with that being the case, there is no denying his impact on the league, both positive and negative. But one thing I will say about LeBron James, In this era of load management, in this era where star players were picking and choosing when they would play in the regular season, LeBron James always made it a point to play. If you paid to see him play and he was healthy, LeBron James made sure you didn't feel cheated. So if you haven't already, click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. Speaking of the NBA, this is how I know it's not me, it's them. My interest in the NBA has not changed. Matter of fact, my interest in the NBA has increased. Meanwhile, my level of interest in the NFL continues to decline. Last Monday night, Niners Panthers drew 12.4 million people on ESPN. Now, for the most part, NFL games average between 19, 20, 21 million viewers. So this is a significant decline. To make matters worse, the NFL was defeated by a collection of prized pooches. Thanksgiving Day, something called the National Dog Show was broadcast, I think it was on NBC. Now, in the NFL's defense, this prestigious ceremony featured some major stars. Allow me to introduce you to Salil. This prized pooch won Best in Show. I'm assuming Salil won this prestigious honor because of his God-given girth. Salil either has a supersized schlong, or maybe that's some dude's pants standing behind him. That doofus trophy, though, that was not the only thing Salil won last Thursday. This lovely hound also became one of the very few who can say they outdrew the NFL on television. The National Dog Show, which was tape delayed, this was not a live broadcast. This prestigious contest took place 2 weeks before it was broadcast on TV. The National Dog Show drew 12.8 million viewers. Just think about that for a second. A tape-delayed broadcast featuring Salil Schlong and Scooby-Doo drew 400,000 more viewers than Monday Night Football. In fairness to the NFL, the Monday night matchup was a stinker. People in Charlotte don't give a shit about the Panthers. The Panthers aren't even a regional draw, much less a national draw. Now, the Niners typically perform well nationally, which is why they're heavily featured on national television, but it is unfathomable that any game in the NFL would be outdrawn by hound dogs. But KC, the NFL, drew massive ratings on Thanksgiving Day. The Chiefs and Cowboys eclipsed 50 million viewers. Yeah, and 2 out of the 3 games on Thanksgiving were phenomenal. I'm not saying there aren't good games in the NFL. I'm not saying that every matchup is circling the pooper, but there have just been far too many Sundays over the last couple of years where I find myself getting bored watching the NFL. That never used to happen. Over the last couple of months, we've talked a lot about the negative impact on gambling on sports. According to The Athletic, 50% of NBA players believe that gambling is having a negative impact on the league. Besides the massive influx of money, I don't understand why the NBA embraces gambling. To me, it's just not worth the risk. Me and my friend ran an online sports book for several years. Obviously, college football, NFL were popular with bettors, but you know what was just as popular, maybe even more popular than college football? The NFL was always our number one driver, but college basketball was extremely popular with our players. I'm not just talking about March Madness. College basketball was popular with bettors from November through the end of the season. You know what league generated the least amount of interest? The NBA. We took more bets on Major League Baseball than we did on the NBA. And the dudes who bet the NBA, they weren't watching it. They would play some doofus prop bet and check the box score once the game was over. This is why I'm so critical of gambling in the NBA, because it doesn't drive viewership. In the NFL, it's completely different. I think gambling is one of the reasons that the NFL hasn't been overly impacted by this noticeable decline in quality of play. In terms of viewership, the NFL actually benefits from gambling. That doesn't mean they should embrace it, but you can at least understand why they embrace it. Like I told you guys the other day, I think the biggest problem for the NFL, there is no solution to the problem. I think one of the reasons we have seen a steep decline in quality of play, fewer and fewer kids grow up playing football. My youngest nephew is a gifted athlete. He's only 6 years old, but you can tell he's naturally gifted. I'm not saying he's going to grow up and be a professional athlete. More than likely, he's not. But the kid was born with natural athleticism. For a 6-year-old, he's a great baseball player, good at playing basketball. He would probably be a great football player too, but we will never know. Why? Because my sister will never allow him to play. And the reason she won't allow him to play, it's not worth the risk. I'm not a doctor, but from my understanding, a child's brain doesn't fully develop until they're 25 years old. I would imagine that development is stunted or maybe even stopped if the child is constantly experiencing head trauma on the football field. Whether or not that's true, I have no idea. But as is often the case, the truth isn't as important as the perception. The perception is the only thing that matters. If there is a 50% risk. Hell, even if there's a 10% risk that your child's mental development could be damaged from playing football, would you be willing to risk it? Some parents are willing to take that risk. A lot of parents are not willing. As we learn more and more about concussions, the number of parents who are not willing to take that risk, it gets larger and larger. If you're the NFL, how do you solve this problem? There's no way to make football safer. If your pool of available players continues to shrink, if the best athletes are playing basketball and baseball, then it makes sense why the NBA and Major League Baseball continue to improve while the NFL continues to decline. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.